Fine,
No,
fine,
you
fine.
do the
No, no,
intro.
no, no,
It's
no,
your
no,
video.
no, no,
No,
no.
I'm
No, you
graciously
do it.
taking
I'm
the
already recording. This is going to be posted. So either you do the intro, or we just sit
so
here.
so Snowve is a very different mod from Lekmod. There's changes all over the place. There's map changes. There are tile yield changes. But the biggest ones I think that are a obstruction to you getting into the game are the policy changes. So almost every policy tree in Snowve has been reworked. There's one massive exception, which is Liberty, because Liberty is the perfect policy tree.
It
If
is.
we
It is.
And so the goal of the mod is to bring up every other starting policy tree to a level where it can possibly compete with Liberty.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it
so
makes sense to start left to right.
yeah, I agree.
Tradition is unique because instead of just being a tall tree, it also is a dip tree. So instead of kind of thinking, okay, like you would in Lek, where I'm going to finish my full tree, I'm going to potentially fill out one, or maybe go commerce two, or maybe go aesthetics one, or go patronage one, or something like that. You can do something similar, and it doesn't have to just be with those, medieval type trees. It can also be with tradition now. So, for instance, aristocracy will give you one happy for every 8 citizens in a city, which means if you have 10 cities that are all over 8 pop, you're going to get 10 happiness. And similarly, oligarchy is now also a potential for dipping, where you can get one food from all of your specialists in all of your cities. So this is kind of like a normal way to play Liberty. And I will say a lot of this changes depending on metas and other stuff that's strong, but a normal way to play Liberty would be you go Liberty, you open tradition, you get tradition 1 for either the happiness or the food, whichever one you need, and then you enter through rationalism. And that was very, very standard for a long time. But this does work as a normal tree, except the main difference to tradition, and I'm going to let you go after this, but the main difference is that it's for 5 cities instead of 4. So we're kind of inclining more people to go a little wider when they're playing tradition, to cover more of the map. And it's a less focus on world wonders and more of a focus on national wonders. I'm going to stop talking. I want you to kind of take over from there, because I am definitely, like, I think it gets a worker now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a free worker on Landed Elite. Monarchy has changed. Monarchy is actually providing you culture per pop. So tradition here is really, if you think about like free for all tradition, you're generally like scrounging for culture. You're trying to get as many wonders as possible. And we really didn't like that design style in Weavy because there's only 2 teams, and if there's 2 tradition players, and one of them is going to get wonders and have a good game, and the other one is going to not get wonders and and have a terrible game, that's just not good gameplay. So tradition is much more focused on things like early science via growing. It's focused on getting this finisher via getting monarchy. It's a lot of tempo from this fast worker. So tradition, not always played, because if you remember this sort of wide player, piety player, flex slot dichotomy, sometimes tradition is competing with honor, but tradition is definitely playable.
Yeah. We can skip over Liberty, Ashwin mentioned, and it is the exact same. The only difference is, we said, actually, is this still true? Wait, you don't get 2 great people anymore, right? It's just one.
It's just one because we finally fixed same turn.
Yeah, yeah. So with same
Thanks,
turn fix
Emma.
now, it's
Emma's the
only
hero of Ruby.
and like honestly, what?
Yeah.
You're only getting one great person, so this is the same.
Yep.
Let's skip over honor.
Honor's hard.
Let's talk about piety.
So
Yeah, go.
piety's kind of slightly changed. So piety is very buffed, first of all.
Substantially buffed.
Yeah. And the thing that's, I think, the strongest thing about piety, so piety, the opener is mostly the same. There's, I believe, an extra culture over Lek. And the piety 1 policy you always take is pretty much the same.
Yep.
But the Reformation policy is really strong. So Reformation, when you look at temples with Reformation and with the piety production bonus, they're about as efficient as water mills. And what this is really guaranteeing is that the piety player has a game, despite having to build shrines and temples without much support.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, you'll see that there's just a straight buff to your cap. You get 3 food in Palace, and then once you build GT, you don't have to take Jizya to get a bonus, and instead GT can give you, in this case, 6 hammers, but there's also other stuff as well.
yeah.
Um,
And then most of the rest of the tree is the same.
Mandate, I
Uh,
think, is exactly the same. Theology's, theocracy is the same, and then religious tolerance is
yeah.
the same. So these are all the same. I will say you can't buy. Wait, can you buy one of each great people? I don't think you
No,
can
you
anymore.
cannot.
Yeah.
That's actually on a different tree now.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That's on
Yeah.
Pedro.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Petro.
I guess we'll just loop back to honor at the very end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Actually, Petro's also so different.
Yeah.
We can just like demonstrate them because I'm in IGE.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
aesthetics, I think, is fairly similar. I mean, this is definitely new, where you get food and production from.
That's a very recent change, which is probably getting reverted in literally 2 days.
Okay, so and this kind of caveat to all of this. A lot of these are going to change by the time this video is posted. So anything we're going over is kind of an idea and a sense of kind of the design philosophy that's existed, and kind of how we like to how we like to try different things before kind of committing to them, or we don't really stick to things that we don't like for a while. We kind of will just switch it. And I think that's a testament to how kind of dedicated that everyone is here, and how dedicated they are to making something that everyone wants to keep playing, and that adds variety and is competitive and stuff like that. But I think
Yeah.
aesthetics
So
for the most part is like pretty stock standard. I mean,
it's
obviously
good
this
to
is
talk
different.
about like what's aesthetics doing for the team. A lot of times you look at these trees and you think, what are they doing for the team? So aesthetics and free for all, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to fill aesthetics. I'm going to like push tourism, or maybe I'm going to get a lot of culture for myself to push like IDO and ratio. When you play aesthetics in a teamer, you're thinking all of these great people are going to be so good for my Liberty player.
Well, I mean, there are metas where the Liberty player is going aesthetics, right?
Yeah,
Because the
yeah.
aesthetic, maybe rationalism isn't that strong, or you really need to fill out all of order as fast as possible, or something like that. Like, it makes sense
Mhm.
to go Liberty aesthetics ratio 0 into straight order. But I think that's kind of been out of meta for a while. That was actually
Yeah,
like my favorite time to play.
yeah. You love the mini game.
I love the minigame.
Yeah.
I don't know why,
Um.
but that's when me and Mark were playing a lot. Anyway,
Yeah.
Flourishing Arts, I
So
think, changed as well.
it's these policies are just mirrored like left to right from the way they are in Lek. I'm really not sure why. Um, and the houses you get from finishing aesthetics spawn in every city instead of just the first 4.
Which is definitely important, because if you're
Yeah,
wide, this isn't 4 happiness. This is 1 happiness per city, which is obviously a lot
yeah,
better.
it's a big deal. But yeah, aesthetics is, I would say, mostly
It's
the
mostly the
same.
same. Yeah. It's common that you'll have the piety player also go the aesthetics, so that they can buy more writers or buy more artists, for the Liberty player. But yeah, that is true, slave build. Okay, so commerce definitely changed a lot. Um, there's definitely more of a focus on improving your sim capacity compared to Lek, and the emphasis on GPT has kind of been focused on, or there's been a push so that it's later on in the tree, right? So you get one of the finishers is you get 1 GPT from all trading posts, which makes them even to what they were in Lek. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Um, so actually, this is a bug we found out today.
Okay.
Um, which is that it's not getting the gold on trading posts. So yeah, the mod gets like sort of played less often. So sometimes there are these tooltips which are sort of lying around, which are completely incorrect. We've been on a tooltip cleanup push recently, but yeah, as of today, we are aware that there isn't a gold on the commerce finisher. Commerce has tended not to get finished a lot in.
Yeah, it's because the food on trading posts is on the second
Yeah,
tree, and then the purchasing is in the exact same spot. I think there's a lot more just, and then like,
there's
honestly,
just more demos
yeah,
because
like
yeah,
this now gives like 100% towards banks and markets, and stuff like that. So there's a lot more sim benefit to picking commerce than in Lek, and less emphasis on this is strictly a gold tree, which, I mean, frankly, it still kind of is, but
yeah. And again, this is all down to this gameplay paradigm of we have to grow, we have to get good science and good infra up because you're in complete greed mode right up until you start fighting.
Yep. So do we even want to talk about Explo? Does this ever get
I
picked?
love Explo. Oh no,
Okay.
dude, we're in Explo meta.
Oh,
We're
really? Okay.
yeah. Um,
So
so
then you do
yeah.
it.
So me and Goss and Kuba, like we tossed this back and forth so many times, and I think it's finally in a spot where I'm happy with it. So Explo is a tree which is focused mostly on fishing boats. So a good Explo city in say free for all is like I'm gonna settle this on an island and I'm gonna, find an island with a lot of hills and that's what it's gonna be good. And the thing it's paying off full Explo is treasure fleets. In Snowve, like the yields are really coming from the fishing boats you've improved and the admirals you're planting. So you're getting these like sort of like and like you're getting the hammers from harbors and seaports, but you're getting this great maritime infrastructure, which is gold and culture, to on all your fishing boats, which is going to push you through the tree. There's happiness right under that, happiness and culture from Harbor Seaport Lighthouse, and this rate policy is science gold and the free admiral. And then the finisher isn't in Lek. You'd have treasure fleets. Here, treasure fleets is 2 hammers from your fishing boats and dry dock. So a good exploration city is one that's working a lot of sea tiles that you have fishing boats on. Because if you add up all these yields, 2 gold, 2 culture, 2 science,
To food.
2 food, and these 2 hammers at the end, these are incredible tiles. And then you're also planting your admirals. Um, you get these really, really high
Also,
hammer cities.
and just to couple with that, I'm pretty sure harbors just give admiral points now, right? Or
No,
is that seaports? Is
no,
that removed? Okay.
nothing gives admiral points. But harbors and seaports are just better buildings. They're cheaper, and they provide culture. And the Explo finisher as well gives you a free golden age.
Let's.
So
I think an important point would be, let's kind of talk about once we get to a tree. So, for instance, I
yeah,
mentioned that aesthetics kind of couples well with piety.
yeah.
Commerce is typically with tradition or honor.
hmm
Um, Explo. Who's picking Explo?
Almost always your Liberty player is the one picking Explo. For Explo, it's important that you're settling every single fish tile and every single sea lux on the map. And it's hard for any tree but Liberty to settle that much space.
This is actually a game where Explo could be like a thing, right? Because you
Yep.
have me in the front here, this guy also in the front, and then this guy's just in the water. So he could potentially also, this is important to note, just because he's Denmark does not mean he like no one has a coastal bias in this. Like all
Yeah.
biases and stuff like that are completely removed. So in this case, he can kind of just, settle all around the coast. Um, so okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yes, but Expo is definitely like a greed scaling tree.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not worried about dying to lane ships, Expo is one of the most powerful things you can be doing.
Cool. Rationalism is more or less the same, just the order is different. Uh, there's an emphasis on secularism being a ratio 3 policy, and then the free scientist
He's on the
is
finisher.
on the finisher instead of the 10% science on is
Yeah.
happy. So I love this change. I frankly wish this was in Lek. Um, I think this just makes more intuitive sense, and I think this is like a proper way to kind of reward someone for finishing ratio, rather than kind of just incentivizing like a half-assed way to push like the 2 worst policies in ratio, or I guess like the 2 mid-ground policies together.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the fun stuff. I'm gonna give myself honor.
You should give yourself free policies from the sort of stat you had because some of these effects are coded in Lua. They won't pop unless you select the policy. So go to IGE. And then the 2 tiles left, yeah, the Marblehead, and then you just free policy. Or sure, yeah,
Okay.
that's also good.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna spawn myself a settler, and I'm gonna kind of show you a normal thought process for honor. So like this is like a fine city, I guess, right?
Sure.
We're gonna free tech. Also important to note, everything you do is as a team. So the team itself is going to tech mining together. You're going to tech animal husbandry together. You're going to tech calendar together. The science you're putting towards it is individual. So everyone has to be teching on the same page if they want to progress forward in terms of the tech tree. And that's for every teamer. That's not just for Snowve. So let's say I settle here. The first thing that you're going to notice is after I settle, I'm going to get a free general. And what's very common, let's say I have mining. What's very common is, well, I guess the first important thing to know is that this general actually has scout movement, which means it doesn't matter what side of the map you're on, per se. You will always be able to put this over the river, and you'll always be able to kind of hit the same tiles as your counterpart. Also important to note, just like normal Civ, whenever you plant on a resource, in this case this iron, that has a chop, also ruins should be off. I just fucked up. There are no ruins in normal game. You actually get the hammers from the chop. So this just gave me 8 hammers. If it was in my city, it would give me even more. Similarly, people use the general typically to obtain tiles in kind of harder to reach areas. So for instance, if I knew a luxury was over there, I could plant this on the sheep. Grab that, and then, okay, look, we got Eldorado.
High skill gaming.
I am so fucking talented. So that's how generals are used. Generals, as you can see, give 1 hammer. There's actually policies to improve this. So for instance, this first policy, the normal kind of route you fill out honor is you go left, right, middle, left, right. So if I take this one, I'm getting 1 gold and 1 culture from these general tiles. These tiles become tiles you want to be working whilst you're building settlers and growing your cities off like the bat, right? You're just getting a lot of yields. This is how you're going to be pushing through the rest of honor. Typically, your expands aren't really building that many monuments too early on, unless you're trying to finish honor quickly, so you can maybe overflow heroic into Chechen or something like that. We can progress even further. This is the exact same policy, which allows for dips if you are, tradition or liberty or piety even. You could dip honor and take honor 1. Discipline now is completely different. Citadels provide 1 extra food, and it gives you a free great general. The 50% experience is the same as it is in Lek. Actually, I think it's 100 in Lek, right? Or is it 50?
No, it's 50.
Okay. So if we take that, you'll see I gained a free general. This is especially useful if you realized, holy fuck, I never settled this marble tile. Well, no fret.
Well, you gotta buy the tile.
Okay, I got to buy the fucking tile. God damn it. Or I guess I could just put it here. Yeah. No fret. You can put it here, and then we can get the marble tile that way. Obviously, this isn't an insane example, but oftentimes, as you play more and more Weavy, the map is not as random as you think it is. When you see a unique luxury is not within 4 tiles of each other, you can kind of infer where another one is. So for instance, I can kind of tell like there might be a Lux down here that isn't my regional, just because the spices is so close to me, and there has to be something else over this way. And I think, just for sake of argument, we can even check. So let me spawn in a scout real quick. Whoops. Yep. So we knew there had to be a sugar here. So and this is actually I mean, honestly, if I could redo my discipline general, like this would be a great discipline general, because there's no fucking way I'm settling a city over here, right?
Right on the front.
Right in the front. So that's kind of like how you want to use that. There's also an emphasis on, which I absolutely love this about honor, but there's an emphasis on Colosseums here. So you gain 50% hammers towards building Colosseums. Colosseums provide 1 food and 1 gold. The courthouse policy is pretty useless, frankly. You're never building a courthouse. The game's likely just over at that point.
I think I've literally never built a courthouse in Weavy. Yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck? Do you hear
What's
that?
going on? No, I don't hear you. I just have your stream muted,
Okay.
I think.
So that's an important kind of point to make. Then, as we finish, this is the exact same policy, I believe, as it is in Lek. Actually, no. Oh, wait, no, it is. This is the new one, right? And then you still... What's the finisher? Oh, yeah. 4 happiness from all national wonders. So oftentimes Your honor player is the person. Also, these tiles gain 1 food, 1 hammer. So you can kind of see like this is a straight buff to Lek in almost every regard. Um, the game is faster pace. Think land ships by turn 100 is very, very standard. Um, so the game is much faster. Demos are higher. Science is higher. But one of the main things, and I think we'll talk about this later, but one of the main things is that units cost a shitload more. I'm pretty sure they're just like doubled, right? Like
No,
it's
it's
50%
actually a
increase.
10% modifier.
Oh, that's it.
Uh, yeah, I mean,
I thought it was more than that.
they're really expensive units already, and where it really makes a difference is because the nerf is applied to modern and later units, upgrading calves becomes
Super
really golden.
expensive. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Um,
I want to talk about like what Honor is supposed to do in the game.
yeah,
Honor
sure.
likes to settle like 6 to 7 cities. Um, Honor is giving your team a huge amount of gold in the early and the mid game because it's not buying so many tiles because it gets to general the tiles it really wants, because it's very fast, because it's getting like generally a free chop in every city, and because the general tiles themselves make gold. So your honor player throughout the early game is often like exporting the gold that the Liberty player needs to buy a tile, or that the Piety player needs to buy a worker or something like that, and then slamming out some wonders and having like a good strong hammer gold game through
Honor
the early
is
game.
so different, but it is
It's
probably the most liked policy tree to play. I feel like
it's
most people
it's
would.
hard and it's interesting, right?
Yeah,
Like you can one turn if you set up your overflow right, you can consistently one turn Chichen Itza. And it used to be that like sometimes that was the honor player's job, that you said, "Hey, you
yep,
abuse your overflow mechanics. Your job is like one turning Chechen for us."
yep. Um, Now with the current meta, I think most people are just going straight civil. So you're not gonna. Oh wait, no, they put it in bronze. Okay, never mind. Um, so yeah, so I think that's a really important point. Let's talk about patronage.
Yeah,
Um,
so patronage is another tree that's just like totally reworked from like, obviously there's no city states in the mod, so like you're not getting any benefits from any city state policies. But what patronage has access to is this unique great person, the great patron. So a great patron is a food improvement tile. They're base 3 food, but they get more and more yields on filling out the policy tree.
so there's two new unique buildings to Patreon. We're not going to talk about this in super depth, but I think it's important. This is how you actually generate these patronages. You're able to build supermarkets in 2 cities. And an embassy in any city that's not your cap. So essentially, you're turning another city into your capital with an embassy. And then the supermarket is a way to work essentially 4 food tiles that give patronage points. So think the equivalent would be a workshop tile, but for food instead. These unique. Can I spawn them in with this?
Yeah,
Oh, you can. Nice. These.
but that's because of me, because that actually took a lot of work to put in.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, you're
So
welcome.
So this is just a base 3 food improvement to a tile. So this might not seem like that crazy, but coupled with a lot of the other patronage kind of abilities. So for instance, you always take left side first now, right?
Sometimes you can go right. Uh,
But
I
okay,
we
so
just push happiness so hard that you're generally taking
yeah.
left side first.
So left side is 1 culture and 3 faith from all pretty much improvement tiles. So now this is looking even better, a little bit better. We can take happiness here if we want. We get a free great patron and a free musician. The musician also will look better, and the patron will also look better. So again, we're kind of just coupling all of these different bonuses from all these different civs. Just make it even more culture. We'll push like through this whole tree. Get a free engineer, and just like the patron, if you plant it, it looks even better. And then what happens when we finish it? Oh, we get a bunch more. Oh wow, look at this. So now we could plant all of these and have a tremendous amount of tiles that look absolutely beautiful. I mean, like, I don't
Yeah,
even...
and something that you're not seeing right now, but should be happening, is that if you have a religion, you don't need to even have founded the religion. You just need to have a religion in your city. Once you get your piety finisher, you can purchase one of each great person. Sorry, once you get your patronage finisher.
Yeah.
So it's the piety finisher effect from Lek. It's just been moved over into patronage.
So if you are someone who really likes tile porn and stuff like that, patronage is your tree. This is like you can exclusively be working tiles that look exactly like this, um, as like coupled with specialists. Like it happens all the fucking time, and just having like a tremendous amount of hammers in a single city and stuff like that is just very very common, and it's because of trees like this. And usually you have two incredibly strong cities, and then the rest of your cities are kind of support cities. Um, but yeah, it's so I think this is a good demonstration to kind of show kind of the main differences between Snowve and the rest of it. I don't really want to dive into the different ideology differences, let alone holy shit, I do not want to talk about religion. There's just
Yeah, there's just too much going
there's
on there.
way too much like that goes on in religion. But all this stuff is I think that one of the main takeaways that I kind of want to stress is that this is made by the same people that you see in free for all games or that are playing tournament. It's made by the same people that I do a lot of my videos with, that I'm really good friends with, and it's because that we really care about kind of the game mode itself and keeping it alive. And I think there's been a push to get more players involved. So if you are someone that wants to get involved, I will make a Weavy channel in my Discord. The link can be found below. And or feel free to at Ashwin or at Hawks or at Glosson or at Kuba. There's a reason why these people are labeled mentors too, but they also like are the most avid Weavy players. They would happily get you involved in a game. We try to have new players join us like as much as possible because, frankly, a lot of times games can be stuck at 5 out of 6, and you just need that one extra player to kind of push you over to get a game going. Is there anything you else wanted to say before we kind of wrap up this video? I think we kind of covered all the main differences. The one thing I did want to mention is Ashwin, you won't be able to see this, but I am showcasing right now. Actually, Ashwin, I will share it for you too in case you wanted to touch on anything. But
I'm so lucky.
Kuba made an incredibly useful differences between Weavy and Lekmod. If you look, red is fully reworked, yellow is effects that have been slightly changed, and green is unchanged completely. You will see very little green. Pretty much everything is completely different. And I think that's kind of just a testament to how much work has been put into this mod. This is not nearly complete, by the way. He's definitely working on it still. But if you're interested in diving in and understanding, like, okay, like this changed, this changed, this changed, this changed, this would be a good place to start. We also have a ton of different resources in terms of like, I'll also post the links to this mod and the map, all of which you can still find in my Discord as well, in case you want to give it a shot and just like try to have fun. One last point I want to make before I pass it over to Ashwin. This mod is also what people mostly use for duels and 2v2s. So the most common way to play teamers is 3v3. 4v4s have also been done, but 2v2s are definitely a thing, and duels have become increasingly popular recently. But the game is balanced around duels. It is also balanced around 3v3 and 2v2. So if that's something that interests you, this mod has that for you as well. Ashton, did you want to add anything?
I just want to point out that there's like this one tiny sort of strip of green in the middle of the wonder list, right? Which is that a lot of these like classical, medieval, Renaissance wonders are okay, and then everything else on the edges is just like, nope, we didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah. And frankly, most of them are nerfs.
Yep.
Oracle is not what it was. Toa gives a free great general. Musician sometimes gives musician points. The library no longer gives a free tech. Right. I could go on and on. But yeah, I mean, like I think a lot of the changes are really cool. Like leaning was always one of the coolest wonders to me. Now provides a free garden in every single city. Like that. That's just so cool. Um, yeah, I think like the ideology wonders no longer give social policies because that's clearly broken. But yeah, no, I think a lot of this is really cool.
Yeah, so if you look at like Snowve policy design, you really want to be thinking, what's this doing for the team, right? And all of these sort of things that are really good in Lek, flip bonuses, war bonuses, right? They're just not that good in Snowve. So a lot of these trees have been reworked to, make your own game stronger. And when you're playing a free for all, I think the easiest way to make your own game stronger most of the time is to go kill someone. It's the easiest way to acquire population and hammers. It's a good thing to be doing. And removing that option from the game changes it so much.
Sure. Um, it Snowve is mostly a testament of sim more than anything. And I think this is one of the reasons, like I said, why it's such a good way to get better at the game, because the entire emphasis is on your ability to sim and frankly your ability to outperform your mirror. So that's all I had.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for doing this video.
Yeah, hopefully it kind of garners some interest in some people are interested in playing. I will also say if you're interested in kind of watching Snowve, um, we can potentially. I don't see why not, but we could do streaming sessions in the Rising Stars Discord. But Malros, who I shared in the part one, I'll also link his stream in the description too. But he's constantly streaming Weevies.
Yeah,
He
I'm
did.
also back to streaming Weevies.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Oh, nice. So, okay, I'll also link Ashwin's too. But yeah, definitely check those out if you're interested in like kind of seeing how the game plays out. It's completely different. I can't stress that enough. It is completely different, but it is a lot of fun, and I would definitely recommend at least everyone try to give it a shot if they can. But with that, I think that's it. Cool.